Things are weird right now, folks. For the past couple of months, I've been making videos where we've talked about why Apple Silicon is good and why buying a used Intel Mac is bad. You've probably seen that on your feed because that's just kind of all that everyone can talk about while we're waiting for the next round of Apple Silicon to come out. But the thing that I continue to mention is that Intel Macs aren't inherently terrible in every single way. It's just that the value compared to Apple Silicon isn't quite there. And the reason that is that Intel Mac pricing has been way too high given the performance and then, the thermal issues, the keyboard issues, and all of those sorts of things. And so basically what I've been saying for, like 10 months now is wait for Intel prices to decrease, and then they might be good again. But here's the thing, they haven't. They haven't budged at all, and I don't understand why. So today, we're gonna talk about which Macs are the worst, which Intel Macs are kind of okay to buy right now, and why all of this is happening. So get subscribed, because this one is a fun one. So the first thing that you're probably noticing, if you haven't been tuned in for the last couple of videos, is, hello, whole new surroundings. So if you haven't seen my 3 moving videos, I've got a playlist pop up for you right there if you want to see all about where I am now. But this is the first of many videos that you will see in this new location. Let me know if you think it looks good in the comments below. Now, let's talk about Intel Macs. I've made a couple of videos where I've touched on various Intel Macs that I've bought. And in my videos, I've tried to make it clear that the takeaway isn't that such and such Mac is a terrible Mac, in most cases, but that for the money that you're spending, it's not as good as Apple Silicon. Take the 16-inch MacBook Pro. This is a MacBook that we've talked about a number of times. Now, I've had this one since launch. It's pretty fully loaded. It cost over $3,000, and it is barely more powerful than an M1 totally base model Mac Mini or a MacBook Pro. Now, where we notice that is that in the past, used Macs have often been better value than some new Macs. That's basically what I have been talking about for years at this point. I've made a ton of videos on used Macs and why certain ones are better than new ones. Like, for example, if you rewind to like 2019, it was very easy to make the case for, I can just buy a used 2015 Retina MacBook Pro instead of a new 13-inch MacBook Pro. That was a super common thing because these were around the same price or even a little bit less expensive. They had quad-core chips that were very comparable. They had the added bonus of dedicated graphics and upgradable SSDs, larger displays, and better keyboards when we were comparing them to Butterfly. That is a textbook example of when used Macs used to be better value than new ones. But there's not a lot of those examples around anymore because right now, Intel Mac pricing simply does not make any sense. We're gonna start out with a pretty simple test. To show you what I'm on about, I did a very simple eBay search. We'll start with Core i5 4th gen, and we'll go up to 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. And then we'll go over to our screen size and we're just gonna check 13 to 13.9, 4,000 results. Here we go. Now we can get an idea of the prices that people are asking for Retina MacBook Pros, essentially. Now, a lot of these look on face value to be somewhat decent. Here's a early 2015 for $453. Let's go ahead and open that in a new tab. Here's a late 2016 Touch Bar for $587. So you see these prices and you think, oh, that's a lot less than buying a new MacBook Pro. That's not bad at all. Then you see even stuff like this. Once we get into 2018, then we're going to start to see prices more like $809. So there we go. Those are 3 listings right off the bat. We have a 2015, we have a 2016, and we have a 2018. So let's go ahead and look at the 2015 listing. Now, I didn't pre-screen any of these. I'm just picking prices that don't look terrible, devices that don't look awful. So it looks like this is your average 2015 base model CPU, 8 gigabytes of RAM with 256 gigabytes of storage. We should compare this to something like an M1 MacBook Air, right? The M1 MacBook Air is undoubtedly going to annihilate this MacBook. It's 6 years old. However, the thing that's weird about this listing is that $453 really wasn't all that unreasonable. Like, you could find these MacBook Pros like this 1 or even 2 years ago. So how is it possible that this hasn't really budged in the past 2 years? Or if it has, it's only gone down by maybe $100. This is great news. If you own one of these, if you bought one for $550 2 years ago, congratulations, because your cost of ownership was like $50 a year. That's fantastic. However, if you're trying to buy one of these and you're saying, okay, I'm spending about half the price of an M1 MacBook Air, am I getting half the performance? No, you're getting well below half. This is a dual core i5, a Broadwell to 5th gen i5. Let's look at the 2016. These MacBooks have seen a bigger drop off in price. 2 years ago, these were still $800 or $900, but now they're down to $500 or $600. That seems like a good value when compared to the 2015 that we just looked at, but the problem is this one has a Core i5, 8 gigs, 256, right? That's pretty standard. This, I believe, is the Touch Bar model with 4 Thunderbolt ports. However, it's still a dual core device. Oh, this is actually from the same seller. That's pretty funny. But yeah, the point is, we're still using an i5 6267U, Intel Iris graphics. Doesn't seem very compelling. Now we're spending more than half the price of an M1 MacBook Air, and we're getting essentially the same performance as a 2015. You're really not gonna notice the difference between a 6257 489U and a Core i5 5538 million and 2U. Like, they're all basically the same. They're all so slow at this point that they're within 1 or 2% of each other, especially when you compare it to an M1 MacBook Air. You also got to factor in that this has a butterfly keyboard. It's also out of the butterfly keyboard replacement program. I made a whole video on why you shouldn't buy the 15-inch version of this laptop, which you should check out for a more detailed explanation. But this is a terrible value. So let's look at the 2018. Maybe it's a little bit newer, more powerful, maybe it's a better value. Well, we are looking at a 13-inch Touch Bar 2018 MacBook Pro. We got the 2.3 gigahertz i5, we have 16 gigabytes of RAM, and we have 256 gigabytes of storage, and we're asking $810 with free shipping. Okay, so this in 2018 was a pretty high-end device because remember, only the higher-end 4 Thunderbolt port Touch Bar models got upgraded in 2018. So this one would have been about $2,000. So yeah, when you compare this to the price that you would have paid for this when new, $2,000, it's a lot less than that. However, at $809 with this quad-core CPU, you're getting half the performance of an M1 MacBook Pro, maybe a little bit more than half of an M1 MacBook Air, but you're only saving $200. So it's really not worth it at all. Like, we can go on apple.com right now and take a look at the refurbished store, and hopefully, for the sake of my video, there will be an M1 MacBook Air here. Let's pull this up. Okay, MacBook Air, look at that. $850, you can get yourself a refurbished M1 MacBook Air. So you're spending $40 more than that 13-inch 2018 MacBook Pro. And first of all, you're getting something that is current gen with a warranty, so that's already a big difference over a used, probably somewhat worn device. You're getting the non-butterfly keyboard, right? That's a huge one. You're getting vastly better battery life, vastly better power efficiency, no fan. What are you losing? What are you losing in that trade? Realistically, it's two things, right? You get less ports, and I guess you can't run Windows. Oh my gosh, you're gonna take that deal. Every day of the week, you're gonna take that deal. M1 MacBook Air for $850? Hell yes. And that's the thing, I just don't get why the used prices haven't accommodated for this. Who are the people out here that are buying these Intel Macs, especially the 13-inch ones, which have clear Apple Silicon replacements, for $800 or $900? They're getting so close to M1 MacBook Air prices, new, not even counting whether there's refurbished ones in stock. Why are people still paying the money? So I get why prices wouldn't move as much for 15 inches, because like right now I'm using my 16-inch MacBook Pro that I bought in November 2019, and it is currently the newest and most powerful 16-inch MacBook that you can buy. There has been no revision to it. 2020 was the first time that the larger screen flagship MacBook Pro didn't get updated since it has existed. So that I understand, right? Okay, there's not a lot of alternatives. The Apple Silicon one isn't here for a couple more months, so people are still going out and buying these things, especially if people need Windows or the dedicated graphics or what have you. Until you back up a couple of years, and then you start realizing that people are paying $1,000 for 2016, 2017 MacBook Pros, 15-inch ones. Why would you do that? I have a whole video on why you shouldn't do that, which I think I mentioned earlier. I don't get it. See, I want content to make. I want you guys to be able to get good deals. I've seen a lot of comments where people are like, oh, I miss the good old days where you would go online and find a good deal. I miss those too, believe me. I've been looking, but it's just so hard to come across them because the market hasn't adjusted. And it's not even a chip shortage issue, right? That was the case with graphics cards. It still is ongoing, although it's hopefully getting a little bit better. But that's not the issue here. It's not that people can't get these M1 MacBooks at market value. I'm going on Apple right now, and you can get it Tuesday, August 17th. I'm recording this on the 14th. That's 3 days from now. Now, I know you're expecting me to have figured all of this out, you know? I'm the type of guy that I sit down here and I look at an issue, we talk about it, and I propose some hypotheses. But I'll tell you something about this particular case. I have no damn clue. Why is this happening? It literally makes 0 sense. The deals are there for M1. You can go out and buy, Best Buy has them on sale for $100, $150 off for brand new devices. Apple has loads of refurbished Macs in their store right now, refurbished M1. You can buy a refurbished Mac Mini. If we go look at this here, you can buy an M1 Mac Mini for $589. That is insanely good. Apple has better deals than used things on eBay. That makes no sense. That has never been true in the history of anything. $589. You could try to build a PC and it would not be that powerful for $589. Literally, go do it right now. Send me a link. Go on PC Part Picker. Build a PC for $589. You can cheap out on the case. You can have no case. I want to see someone DM me a link on Twitter @LukeMiani of a PC that you can build for $589 that's more powerful than an M1 Mac Mini. I don't even care about the fact that the PC that you're going to build is going to be like this big or the Mac Mini is like this big. I don't even care about that. You cannot buy a better computer than that. And this is coming straight from Apple. I don't think that you should be buying any 13-inch MacBook Pro at all right now. In fact, the only MacBook Pro used that I think is regularly findable with decent value is probably this, the 2015 15-inch. You can find these things at pretty decent prices. So here's one for $580, here's one at $650. But look, the 580 has a 1 terabyte SSD, the maxed out CPU, like that's an okay deal, all right? Yeah, sure, it's not anywhere near as powerful or has as good battery life as an M1 MacBook Air, but you get a larger screen, you get plenty of ports, it's still supported, it's a decent machine. It's not, you know, anything super crazy, but it's a pretty solid value. And because of the fact that these Macs don't depreciate very much, you can buy this thing, keep it for a year, and then upgrade it, and you're probably not gonna lose a lot of money. So that's a pretty good idea. But those 13-inch MacBook Pros just literally don't make any sense. Okay, I've ranted and raved and gone a little bit insane during this video, but I'm very curious to hear your guys' thoughts. Why do you think used Intel Macs are so expensive, and do you think it's gonna change? So that's gonna do it for this video. As usual, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter @LukeMiani, and I'll catch you in the next video.